if they ask if you can build it, say yes, and then figure out how to build it.
Welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the seven-figure journey. My name's David Gilliland. I'm one of your hosts. We're privileged to have Alex Gore with us I just forgot the name.
F9 Productions.
F9 Productions. It's my fault. I should have had it up on my screen. From F9 Productions. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Here's what's cool about F9 Productions. So if you're in the Colorado area and you want an addition to your home, or you want like a really nice home tucked away in the mountains or something, like all the way up and down, they'll go from architecture, plan drawing, approvals, all that through the construction. So imagine the one-stop shop. That's quite the advantage, to not have to manage between different people.
Absolutely.
But glad to have you on. How'd you get started? Did you start off like studying or working? What got you into this whole business?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I always wanted to be an architect, and that's because I would always draw stuff. And then my grandma and my parents said, "Oh, you're going to be an architect." So that was always it. But going a little bit into how the firm actually started, I worked for Daniel Liebskin. Architects will know him. He did the World Trade Center master plan. But then in 2008, the recession happened. And then that's when me and one of my good friends from college started out in Colorado. So you mentioned, architect and builder. There's a nuance to it that I think people in the industry will know, is that a lot of, you'll hear design build, and a majority of the time that's a contractor who hires an architect who's either moonlighting or just a one-stop shop kind of person to draw the drawings. And then the builder builds it. So it's really, really builder-led. We were always an architecture firm first and foremost, and that's all we did. And then we started building some of our own stuff for fun. We built like a tiny house for HGTV. Then a big company wanted us to build even like cooler ones that they could take touring around. And then we built our own, we bought land and we designed townhomes. So we did our own townhomes and then our own headquarters here where our office is. And then clients started asking if we could build their stuff, and we could. So then we transitioned to that as well, but it was always your architect first, so that you can take these plans, you can go wherever you want. It doesn't matter to our business model whatsoever, because we are sick of, either hearing from other people that we needed to redraw the drawings because they no longer liked that team and they wanted to split up. And the benefit is that even if we can't build your project, let's say it's too far away or we're too booked up, you still get that integration of all that knowledge. And it's not us hiring some other architect to draw it. It's the people in-house that are going to these projects we're building, that our GCs and foremans are coming back in, sharing the knowledge, so that, because in case we build it, I want the cleanest, easiest, most straightforward, with all the information I need on the drawing plans. And if that's going to help me, that's going to help the other GC too. Yep. And then we can get good referrals, good business equals good profit. The cycle continues.
No, the reality is every time something hands off, from architect to the engineers doing the HVAC and electrical or whatever, finalized plans, city stuff, and then into the build, every handoff has an issue. And so you guys have seen those because you've lived the whole life cycle. You probably just design well, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because we, in our firm, we have like an internal process of improvement, and it's based a lot on what you talked about right there, and the lean manufacturing, and actually this concept of 2-second lean, like small incremental lean improvements. And it's all about one piece flow.
Yeah.
So like we'll draw all the structural engineering, and our engineer will just redline and review, because we want that one piece flow of going through there. We're now integrating more HVAC on the residential side. Even 5 years ago, you would get what's called these manual JD&Ss. No one would ever look at them whatsoever. No one even care about them. HVAC people just build what they want to build and then cut through your trusses and then you got to fix it. But now we're integrating that too, so that we have a one-piece flow from the design all the way through the construction. So those handoff pieces are
saves so much waste, so much headache, so much delay time removed. So love the business model. So that we don't geek out too much, and some of our listeners are like, I don't know anything about construction. Why are we talking about this? Let's kind of dive into business now, right?
Yeah.
Have you got started? You built this out. You guys have done well, and you passed your $1 million mark a while back. What have you learned that has helped you since passing the $1 million mark to where you are today? What has helped you grow and run your business?
The biggest thing because it took a while to chug through up to the $1 million mark. And then after that, it probably took half that time then to double it, you know?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing was for us, I don't know about anyone else, was expanding our services and our offer and diving into a bigger pool. And that came from then not just architect, but architect builder. Because architects are constrained, and it depends on who you talk to in this, anywhere from, and depends on how big the project is. So there's like sliding scales, right? But in generalities, like you can have an architecture fee as low as 3% of a project, or only on bigger projects, to if you're, a California-based architect, you can have 12% of the project, right? And so let's say average 7%, right? A GC fee for the same project is anywhere from, 15 to 22%. So let's average 18%, right? So you more than just doubled that. And it's so crazy too, because the way that the government is and the system is, it depends on where you're at, but you can spend just as much time designing and getting through permitting as it takes to build. I think this project right here, it actually took longer for us to get through design and permitting to build. And it's always baffling. And I could actually, if you wanted or to allow me, I could go on a rant why. But maybe that won't be as interesting. But that was the biggest thing. And then the second biggest thing is I heard this when I was in college. Because of the recession, I had a summer up in Montana. And my girlfriend's uncle at the time was a builder. And he, so I'd ask him, tidbits and stuff like that. And one of them that he said that I remembered was, if they ask if you can build it, say yes. And then figure out how to build it.
Yeah.
Say yes, then figure out how to build it. And it's weird because one of the ones that slingshot us, we built a tiny house for ourselves and we built it really cool. And then this big company asked, and these tiny houses have like spring-loaded walls that fold down and fold up. And it has like a sky deck on it on hydraulics, and then everything folds and collapses for aerodynamics. And I was out there building it, and I asked one of the guys in the shop, because we got to use their shop. I was like, hey, I need to do this whatever task I was doing. I don't even remember what it was. And he brought me back into his tools, and he was like, you're going to need this, and it's called this, and here you go. And I asked him, I go, hey, just curious, like, how did you get into this? And he goes, oh, my dad was always a builder, always had a shop. And it dawned on me, and I was like, oh, you know more about building than me. You for sure know more about how to build than me, 100%. I barely even knew the tool that I needed, right? And it was all about our willingness to take on these challenges, boil them down to fundamental principles, and then construct it from there. And I'll go a little bit further too, is that I've noticed that myself or other people on our staff, and I've heard this from other people, we kind of self-limit ourselves, right? Like, hey, can you build this house in Aspen? Yeah. Do I know how to right now? No. But can I figure it out? Yes. And that also lesson, besides just, opening yourself up to a bigger pool, putting yourself in a bigger pond that has bigger returns was one, but then also not limiting yourself. and saying yes. And I don't know if you've, heard that before, but I heard that, let's just say months ago, and I could see in my actions that I was self-limiting,
Yeah. So let's pick apart some things here, because taken to an extreme another direction could really ruin your business.
Yeah.
Let's play with it. I mean, you had found customers who wanted your design, and now they were looking for the build. And what's funny is you'd already sold them once. So the second time, there was no sales process. It's just a matter of saying, yeah, we said this is the right way to build it. Now we can go and build it. Now, you had to build new capabilities. I'm sure you didn't make huge margins that first time. There was thinking, right? There's a lot of working through and all that. But it sounds like you guys took the approach, instead of saying, I'm an architect and I'm nothing but an architect and I will go and architect the world. You kind of came in and you're like, no, we're an architect and mostly residential. Mostly residential. That's kind of where we spend. And then we know these customers. And when they want more, we try to say yes. Either we do it, or we find someone else. But they come to us, we give them a yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, follow the market. Quit pretending you have a widget that everyone should buy. Find what the market wants to buy and go give them that. Is that?
There's so many different things that we could take and spin off. So I'll try to remember. One is that when we started building for ourselves, we did the tiny houses, the super tiny event center houses, whatever you want to call them. And then we built our own development. And it's about 9 units, including one commercial thing. Because our thought process was, we'll build 9, and then you buy land and you build 18. Then you buy 36, whatever. You keep doubling, and then you're a millionaire and everything's easy, right? And the problem that we learned, and we changed, and we just went to where the market was, okay, if I want to do that route, I have to buy the land. Then I have to, so I'm putting down a big chunk of money. Then I need to go through the permitting process, which is huge and massive and super long and can take just as long or longer than construction. And then I have to build the whole thing, and building's hard. And then I have to sell them. I have to sell them to other people. A lot of architects say like, I want to be a developer for myself because I'm the customer. Well, you forget about the bank and then who you have to sell it to. So it's kind of not true. And then all of a sudden you get at the end of the pie, and then you hope you're selling not during a recession or too much market competition. And then it's the last couple units where you actually make your profit on. And then you did all that risk and all that time. And then we transitioned and we go, that was crazy. That was crazy. Kudos for the developers who do that. And maybe they're more deep pocketed so they can, do that.
It's a different business model and a different time frame.
Yeah. And now think about this is there's a client who already knows what they want. They already have the land. They hired us as the architect. So we made money throughout all that process. Now they're ready to build. They have the bank loan. If they say yes to us, then money is secured. Profit happens immediately on monthly draws as you build through. Risk goes to not zero, but a hell of a lot less, right? Risk goes down, reward goes up. And again, one of your other side point, I think there was 3 side points that you mentioned that I wanted, but I can only remember 2. The other one you said is the sales process at the construction side. It's so easy because first, you have to make a good architecture product that you're selling. So they know that you did what you said you were going to do. You communicated, your just fundamental principles of that. And then people are busy, and it takes a lot to go find, review, interview. And we have no problem with doing that. But the likelihood of okay, if you've ever bought a car, which is a big purchase, sometimes you go to multiple different lots and look. But sometimes it's like, I've done my research. I'm going to go to one lot, and it's going to take you the whole day to do it. Are you going to go through that whole day and then finally get that final price and then just say, okay, wait, I'm going to go do that 2 more times? I'm going to go through that whole process 2 more times to compare to make sure. I'm sure some people do, and that's fine. And they do on the architecture and construction side. But a lot of times it's hey, I trust these people. We're completely open book. We show them everything. It's all just cost plus. We want to be as honest as possible because we know that people start on the internet and they look at not only can you, the firm I'm looking for, do they do what I do? And has other people said that they did a good job on it?
Yeah.
So our Google reviews are the top in the state. The top in the state, because that makes that first sales process easier, right? Which then leads to second sales easy as well, right? And it comes all full circle.
Yeah, and great. So a couple pieces, things that have helped you go from $1 million to 2 plus was one, hey, we're already serving these customers. What could we do? What's a next step that we could take that wouldn't be too far off the business model? It's not like being the developer that I've got to, all of that cash out. Like, it's just a very different business model. This is service provided.
Yep.
People who already have the same cash is paying for both of these services. It's coming through. It's in the bank already. It's at the bank already. It's going to come to us. And we could go do that. There was another piece you mentioned. You met the guy like, wow, this guy knows a lot more about building. So when you opened up and you decided to do that next level, was it Alex putting his tool belt on, or did you find the right talent?
So we did it the hard way. And that was the other point that you kind of mentioned before was, I'm sure your margins were lower and things were harder in the beginning when we made this transition, which was completely true. Because all of a sudden we had a thing where we had to run the architecture firm, and then me and my business partner had to run the big one was this whole office complex. So it was we were the developer, the contractor, and essentially the owner of it, in the end. So it was crazy stressful. And the learning curve was, a million miles an hour. And I remember, because I was at first running the architecture side, then I had to come in the building side. And I remember just standing in the center, we had this little tiny road. And my whole job was just, what needs to happen? Where do people need to go? What decisions need to be made? How quickly do they need to be made, which is immediate? How many dollars is that? Oh, that's $20,000. Okay, that decision got made in 5 minutes. That's crazy because that's how quick it needs to go. So there was all that pain. And then the transition point, I remember it being so stressful that I made the error on my vacation to tell my wife that my job was harder than her job. She's raising 2 kids, and all that. And so I'm telling you, don't do this, right?
This is supposed to be a business advice show, but we can get into this family advice and really throw you for a loop today.
Well, if your family life is less stressful, it helps you in your business. Absolutely. So don't say stupid stuff like that, right?
There's our nugget. All right. Yep. I think we can leave with that nugget, don't you?
Yes, there you go.
The stress was real. That anytime you're stepping into a different area of business, if you're trying to vertically integrate or horizontally do some different changes and things, and if any of those shifts, don't think it's going to be smooth, because it's like starting a new business again. So while running another one. And that's exactly what it is. It's an entirely new business. And you know what that was like. Each of us lifted our company up from nothing to where we are today. It was hard work. You're throwing that hard work on top of your day job already.
Yeah.
Whenever you start another. So that's something to think about. There is a way to shortcut that a little bit, which is, how do I find the right talent who will run and do that? Like that guy in the shop. Wow, this guy knows how to build better. How do I bring someone like that in, or a developer in, to say, if we're going to do this, let's do this right with someone who fits us and fits this role, who's passionate about where we're going. Let's let them be the one building that, because they've done it. They've learned some valuable lessons already. So beautiful little insights. And I love the last one, and let's just stick that there. Your home life is not being well cared for. You will not have the energy, strength, and everything else you need to do your business life. So care for the ones you love. And don't ever tell them your job's harder than theirs.
Don't do it. I did it for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alex,
for
doing that. Now we all know that was a bad idea.
Some people have to do the dumb things, you know.
All right, Alex, you guys have done great. You've grown to this point. What are you struggling with now that's on top of mind for you? Maybe we could help you, because that's what success just breeds new problems and challenges for us to tackle, which we love as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
What's the new challenge? What are you facing?
There's two. I'll start at the first one, and then after that we could go to the second one. The first one is balancing stuff that I need to do, which is I need to get this information out. I have a meeting, and they're just menial stuff, but I run on the principle, like, if it's under 5 minutes, do it. But then if you get an email every 5 minutes, then you start to stack up. Versus the stuff that I should be doing. So there's an example, like bidding out a project and getting all the subs in line means a massive amount of profit security for the future. Getting to that chunk of 3 hours worth of work while trying to do all this other stuff is something that continuing need to improve upon.
Let's just play with that, because there's actually a lot more to unpack in that. And maybe we'll have time for the second one.
Sure.
You mentioned that doing the things that are most important are massively valuable, but they suck a lot of time, and so much urgency, immediacy is drawing your attention, right? The bigger you get, you keep passing, to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. This growth that happens means there are thousands of those small things always hitting. If they don't happen, things actually grind to a halt later. They really do have a problem, but they're not that valuable still, meaning someone else could probably do some of these things. There's ways to think about both someone or how, ways to change, because you just mentioned this one layer, because if I could be out bidding a new project, that's worth a lot more. Let me take you one step further. If you could lead 3 estimators and 6 architects, you could be doing a lot more. If you could identify that talent, convince them to come on board and do this work. If you could get your name out there more, so more and more people are demanding services from F9 Productions, then that would be worth a lot more, right? Time-wise. Now, the 1,000 demands are still there and on top of us all the time, right? So like, how in the world do we do this? It's like a never-ending cycle, right?
Yeah.
But essential. And the answer is, it's just as painful as starting up a new part of the vertical integration that you were doing. You're going to be like, what? Come on, David. I thought you were going to give me an easy. No, it's painful. It's a tough thing, but it's worth tens of millions to you. It's only worth a couple million for you to get better, to get more time for more bidding and do this and that. That'll get you another couple million. That transition's a good one. The tens of millions of play is the next transition, where you start taking your architect hat off and your bidding hat off, and you get into a business building mode and people building mode that has exponential return because you leverage through other people. So let's take the first step, though. Let's get into what's the highest value when you're in the trenches doing, because bidding is trenches doing work. Important still for the size team you have. But what's the highest value in the trenches doing, and how do I get there? Tell me about your email interruptions. Tell me about the stuff and how you manage your day. I mean, the way you mentioned, if it's under 5 minutes and I just do it, that's kind of like a David Allen approach, right?
Sure.
Getting things done, right?
Yep.
Let's crank this out. Let's crank this out. And that's lovely, unless you're supposed to be doing a different job. Okay, so there's priority. There's priority of, maybe this isn't my job to do it all, right? What are the things that have to be done but could be done by someone else, or have to be done but could wait? My response time in 24 hours is plenty fast. So let's drop a couple things. How often do you look at your email, Alex?
How often?
Yes.
Oh, it's up on the side screen.
Oh, so I'm sorry to hear that. That could be part of it, and you decide it may be that it's essential because you have fast response that you need to do. But another thing is if you're going to work on stuff that requires focus, time, and effort, then, and if you believe emails are important too, um, but not as important as that, $400,000 job that you're trying to bid on
Yeah.
to do work in. If you believe it's less important, go ahead and block out time on your calendar. That your
Yeah.
calendar tells you, this is my email time. If it's so important, make it sacred. Make it really important, but it only fits. And
Do
that
you
hour
have,
block and this hour block and this hour block. Like you've got 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and 30 minutes, and that's your email time. That's a way of thinking about it. I don't think that's the best. I think the best is to go through and say, what's the content that I'm really dealing with? And who else could be doing this?
yeah, I think that is the higher level answer. Have you heard problems with sort of doing the opposite? And I'll tell you why. So my quick response is to make sure that all the projects and everyone that's running stuff that I still need to hire and build upon are going smoothly so that we have quick answers, so that we get great reviews from the client, and then that goes all the way back to the beginning and circles. But those few things that are valuable that I don't have someone else to do, instead of time blocking email, time block bid on huge project.
Okay,
Where
go
that's
the other way. Yeah,
go the other way.
absolutely. That it's blocked that you can't touch. So really, what the I think those are decent time block things, and this is a solution which I hope only is for the next 6 months. And here's why. Let's go back to this person issue. You were wearing the hat of business owner, salesperson, estimator, which are two different jobs, by the way, right? Someone bringing in the business, someone doing the estimating. You have those three hats. You have project manager on there. These are just the things that you've mentioned in the last little bit. It sounds like you have new offering development, like someone's got to run the construction group and whatever. Maybe that's off your plate now. I certainly hope it is. But you are wearing so many hats. And what that does is it makes you so stressful. You say really stupid things to your wife, like, my job's harder than yours.
In fairness, that was a couple years ago, but it's still worth repeating.
But it still sticks, right? And so you're wearing too many hats to be great at any of them. And really, you don't want to wear that many. And I know it looks like, yeah, but I could do this and we make this extra revenue or this extra margin because I'm not hiring somebody. But if you hired somebody in to give you 30% of your time back, would that 30% translate into more revenue if you were to lean into your sales and estimating? Or would that 30% give you time to hire and build a salesperson or estimator so that could get off your plate quickly too, and do a great job there and coaching, mentoring them because you really want them to be great. Every one of these roles, you want them to be great. Where can I put my time that buys me time? There's your number one asset. Where can I put my time to buy me more time? Can I put an hour in to get myself 3 hours? That's something I want you to look at as quickly as possible. Start thinking that way. I need to buy more time. Not just so you can sit on the beach with your Mai Tais or whatever else. I'm talking about you get time so you can go after the big issues that need to be solved. If you want to go to 10 million, we don't just need to be able to sell and build more. We're also going to need to get tighter around that ideal customer. We're also going to get tighter around some of our processes and systems. And I'm going to probably need another person that helps me think through it. It's leading some of that. I'm going to need to be building people on that path and journey. Now, you can't hire them all at once unless, you're like Daddy Warbucks or something and you're funded. Right? We're bootstrapping this thing. So we take one at a time. I've got this much a month extra. I don't have to have 80 grand sitting in the bank to hire an $80,000 person. I've got, though, 7,000, 6,000 a month. I can do something there. Or I've got only 4,000 or 3,000. What could I pull off even part of that with an EA or a virtual one or part-time one that could do my emailing, my follow-ups, the little touches, by the way, a lot of people could do that for you. How do I get them to be the active, quick response, which is keeping our brand promise to our customers? I want that happening, but allows me to think bigger, to not be pulled down into the trenches so frequently. I need to see where we're headed. I need to help guide people. I need to build them. I need the time to do that. And I can't have 100 interruptions in a day or 1,000 interruptions in a day if I'm going to do bigger picture work. So just start thinking, all I really need is to see that, hey, I've got 5,000 a month. I could, in the next 3 months, could I make up that 15,000 if I had this time back? What could I do? If I can see the path, I can do the ROI, and I could make 40,000 in that same $15,000 of investment over 3 months. I get 40,000 because of new jobs in or helping someone do theirs better. That's an ROI worth doing. So we're going to jump in. We're going to do that. That's what I suggest. And then let them be efficient on how they manage their time. I want you to be effective on how you manage yours. Right? I want you to be thinking, what's the highest value add I can be doing for the business right now, and I'm going to go do that.
Yep.
So push back on me. What's stupid about this idea now? And how's it impractical?
The second half of what you said was the second question that I had.
Oh, say, look, it led into it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, just to reiterate from my perspective, is that what can happen is really look at projections of what's going on and what the projects are in the future, right? And obviously I already know a baseline of what's going on right now. And then to see, okay, those projects that are signed that are going on will bring in X amount. Now, with that extra, whatever it is, $2,000 to $8,000, what can I hire to then take that off of my plate so that basically it can continue to grow and not get bogged down?
Well, and more specifically, so you can intentionally go and get twice as much work.
Yeah.
Or so you could fix this one process that would make the 8,000 extra go to 9,000 extra off into the future. Just think, one thing changed. If we fix this and now we get an extra $1,000 a month from our overall projects coming through forever. Yeah. That's not a bad return. Let's go do that 10 times this year. And we just came up with $120,000 of extra cash a year to do work with.
Yep.
And so it's thinking that way. Like, how do I keep tweaking? And then we even get to a higher level again, and we think about direction of the business as a whole. And I'm not talking about an extra 1,000 a month. I'm talking about, an extra 100,000 a month. Right? We're raising it up, but we're talking about an extra $1 million a month, because we're starting to really see the market and what they need and how to make it easier for them to buy from us and work with us. So they want to keep paying us and paying us well. Just little things to think about, but it takes time. And every email interruption stops you from having clarity. So to breathe, take the time, even if it's like the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get 30 minutes every morning that before we start the day, I'm thinking clearly. Mm-hmm. I'm getting clarity of what we have to do for 3 months from now, for 2 months, for a month from now, maybe for a year from now. If you're thinking a year from now, I want you to have a day to think about that with some of your team, right? I want you thinking clearly. Then we can build intentionally, and it's fun. It's fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. That kind of wraps up time-wise. I mean, we're dropping out here, but if someone wants to get in touch with F9 Productions, wants to get in touch with Alex Gore, how do they do that?
Easy. My email, you can email me anytime, and except when I am time blocked out to do the bidding on the big projects, I will not get back to you as quick. AKG at f9productions.com. And if you just go to f9productions.com, you can see our work. There's forms to fill out and anything like that.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us today. That was a lot of fun. As for the listeners on the call, if you found value in the things you heard, please like, share, get it to other seven-figure business owners so they too can benefit from the things that Alex shared with us and that we talked about together. Keep growing, keep striving, keep learning, keep caring. Until next time.